So, in 1992, after spending 4 years in the New Jackson store, opening that store and staying there for 4 years, um, I moved to the Rutgers Plaza store. It's a good store. It was an old finest. It was a good store. Some really good people and some not so good people. I replaced a legend there, Bob Wazorek. Excellent man. Um, but for some reason, they decided it was time to make a change of pace, and they put me there. And he was very well liked in that store. I remember the first day I was there, and I walked in. I ended up with 17 cashiers called out sick that day. Talk about trying to run a front end in the store when you were constantly missing help. That was one of the tougher stores to staff because it was in New Brunswick, which you had a lot of upper class people, and you had the college, and the college kids didn't really want to work as cashiers or clerks too much. And it was just a difficult store to staff, but there were some good people there. Mark Davis, Woody was my dairy manager, and Gloria Sosha was the head cashier, and I had a few assistants there. Pam Lettenmeyer was there for a while after Jim Sweeney was promoted. Jim was my assistant in Jackson for a while. He was also in Rutgers Plaza with me. Donnie was the produce manager. I don't remember the meat manager too much. And some of the other department managers I can't really remember either. So, but it was an interesting story. There was a lot of things happening there. They had a nice bar down the road across the street, like a half a mile away. Skippy, the owner, bartender, and he lovingly called his wife the Dragon Lady. I had a good HB clerk in Rutgers too. I wonder how she's doing, Kathy. She was very good at what she did. But that could be a very tough store. I remember one time, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I got a phone call from the store and said that they were out of power. And I didn't live that far from the store, so I went to the store to see what the problem was. And it was a store in a shopping center, but it was a store that stood alone. And it was very dark in there. And I'm walking around looking, trying to figure out why the power's not working. And I'm walking around with flashlights and stuff, and the night crew, they can't work in the aisles because they can't see, so they're all sitting around. And to be honest with you, I think that one of the night crew guys actually had done the thing, because I eventually got into the motor room in the dark there and found that the breaker panel was open and the main breaker had been shut off. And what not to do when you have a power failure and the breaker panel is open. And I saw this and I said, well, I wasn't familiar with those type of breakers. It was a big crank, kind of like the old crank that you used to start a car with. And so I had made some calls, and they had an emergency generator on the way to the store to power it up. In the engineering department, they weren't too happy with me because when I found this thing open, I just took the handle and cranked it, and to turn the power back on, and it did that, but it shot a spark about 30 feet across the motor room, burned a hole in the wall on the other side. If I was standing in front of that spark, I think I would be dead right now and not doing all these lovely videos. But in my overzealousness to turn the power back on, I forgot to close the doors on those panels. So now I've got, just however many volts, 480 volts or whatever system with the doors open, and you don't want to be around anything like that. The engineering department finally got there with the generator and found out that I had turned the power back on because I never called them and told them that I got the power working. And then they had to shut the power off again anyway to close the doors on the panels. But I think that one of the night crew guys that got in there and was playing around with the crank and had, shut the power down in the store, because that night crew was a rough night crew, and they were apt to do things of that nature. Um, I know that we had a night crew chief that wasn't happy with some of the stock that the grocery manager was ordering, um, and the stock was vanishing and stuff. And we started checking garbage containers and balers, and one night we found, I don't know, about the entire aisle worth of dead stock for the foils of wraps and garbage bags were thrown in the baler. All the dead stock, because the night crew chief had decided. We found out later it was the night crew chief. Had decided that he just thought that we were ordering too much dead stock, and he was going to take care of the dead stock. So he just took it and threw it all out. But even with some of those problems and the inventory variances that we were having, the store was still a good money-making store. And up until the time that Edwards came and stuck a thorn in our sides by buying us, that was a $2 million store. It made $2 million a year, so it was a good store. But it was a tough store to run, tough people to run, and it was just another interesting time in the life of a supermarket manager.